what kind of student were you in terms of marks?
We were a class of 37 kids, and I was at 33. That look, either there are a few openings for you. As an individual, you either get into politics, that is where you have fame, you have money. Either you become a businessman. He said, like, we have no business background, you have no political background. So what is left for you is to look for a government job. Because in those days, in our days today, the government job is very difficult to come by and one of the most prized ones. Then my parents said that you have to, after you complete your graduation, you should appear for the civil services. I took a shot at civil services on three occasions. I made it to the interview stage also. However, my marks were not good in the written examination. There was this institute in JNU Delhi, which goes by the name of Indian Institute of Mass Communication. And it does a PG diploma course for journalism. And in those days, it was considered, it still is considered to be a very premier institute, and not, it used to, in my time, the intake was only 25 students across the country would be taken in. You see, money at the end of the day is very important. Roti, kapda, makan, sab kuch chahiye.
It is, yeah.
Or uske alawa, what you need is some degree of respect from the society. And not some degree, but a majority of comfort of being yourself, being within your skin, being comfortable with yourself. ठीक है, पैसा नहीं है, ये नहीं है, वो नहीं है. But still at the end of the day, you need to make at least that kind of money which can give you, a comfortable lifestyle. उसके कुछ दिन बाद there was another television channel called Times Now, which was coming up under the leadership of this gentleman called Arnab Goswami.
Welcome back to the Wise Bard Company Stockfest, and again I can pat myself on the back for getting Mr. Ashok Bagariya to talk to me. An IIMC pass out, a Supreme Court reporter, a producer on one of the leading news channels, and a teacher. बस सुन लो यार, और कुछ नहीं. Sir, good evening.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, and feeling fortunate that you are here. Last time अपन लखनऊ में मिले थे सर. Just after pandemic, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, before the second wave, कहीं first and second के बीच का जो कुछ था.
2020.
20. Okay. अच्छा. That was 2 years back. More than 2 years back then.
More than 2 years back.
And वो 2 दिन अच्छे थे सर, बढ़िया थे. They were nice 2 days. Okay. Sir, पहली चीज, back in school, we thought of you as a very fun-loving person, a person who was in his own world, a person who would not bother anybody, but a person who would not take any kind of crap also. Very straightforward, clean-cut boy. Of course, we were in class 6 when you were in 11, so you were the people who were running the school when we were just the newborns in boys' school. So that is how we remember you. And of course, the pole vault, the Malcolm, those wonderful things. Back then, nobody did pole vault in OG. You were probably the only boy who was doing something about it. And of course, Malcolm. Malcolm was reasonably popular among the boys during Founders Days. So that is how we remember you. And there's a huge fan club. You may not know about it, but as juniors, there's a huge fan club. We want you to be around. We want to be around you. And sir, ये हमारा perspective था that this is how you were in school. Do you agree, or you had something else going on in your mind?
See, as far as school is concerned, Sudip, those were really the carefree days. You didn't bother about, at least as far as I was concerned, I didn't bother about too much about studies or making a career, because at that point in time, we were still groping in the dark. At least I was still groping in the dark. I wasn't sure as to what kind of a professional life I would want to lead, or in the sense, what I would want to do after I pass out from school. It was basically peer pressure. Most of us were basically either preparing for engineering examination, medical examinations, or the routine NDA stuff that was on. However, I was not a part of that gang, in the sense that I was pretty sure that I wasn't made out for either of these things. Although at some point in time later, I did take the CDS exam, and fortunately for me, I didn't make it. That's a different story for some other day. But yeah, in a sense, you're right about your assessment of me, that I generally was like trying to live life as it came along, have a good time, as long as I did not cross swords with the teachers, didn't get caught by the teachers on the wrong foot. It was interesting times, good times, not bothering much about what life has in store for me, or I was like pretty relaxed about it, and I'm still relaxed about it. I'm not too much of in a hurry to get anywhere.
What kind of student were you in terms of marks?
So in terms of marks, let's say in 7th, in 8th, 9th, I was, we were a class of 37 kids, and I was at 33. So you can say that I was among the top 10 from the bottom. And but fortunately, during the boards in the 10th and in the 12th, I fared well. I made it to the top 20, which included the boys' school as well as the middle school. But generally, as far as non-board classes were concerned, that is even 11th for that matter, I was a part of the last 10 group, not a part of those really bright students in my class. But I was fine with it as long as you got promoted to the next class. And generally, as far as Okru was concerned, there wasn't too much of a pressure, nor peer pressure to perform. Teachers were fine. Teachers were good. They taught you everything they had to, in terms of academics, sports, life, how to cope with life and stuff like that. So that ways, things were pretty sorted for me. Studies, I wasn't sure. So I was all over the place, to be very honest. I didn't know what has to happen, what will not happen. I was really not sure. I was still trying to figure out in terms that what should be done, because at that point in time, when you are 16, 17, 18, you really are not in that frame of mind to make up your mind. You're generally, there's a lot of pressure from the parent side that possibly you have to pursue your career, you have to focus on your studies, you have to either crack the medical examination or the engineering examination, so that everything for you in terms of your future and your career is secured. However, I didn't fall into that kind of a pigeonhole. I said, okay, I'll figure it out. As time comes, I'll definitely find something for myself.
No, since parents play a very important role in that time, during those times, when obviously they also believe that the kid is not mature enough to understand what he's supposed to do, what he's not supposed to do. But how easy or difficult was it for you to convince them that I'll figure a way out? Because I couldn't do it in my case.
No, to be very honest, Sudeep, it
Uh,
was very difficult for me also, in
okay.
the sense that after my 12th examinations, I had physics, chemistry, and biology. And my parents were like that, okay, boss, now you've studied PCB. Now the
Mhm.
course of action open for you is to study medicine.
Mhm.
And they did force me to take one of those pre-medical
CP,
tests,
CPMT, it was back
CPMD,
then. Yeah.
CPMD, yeah,
Mhm.
CPMD in those days.
Mhm.
So I opted for Delhi as a center, and I did not go to the center and frittered away my time watching a movie. And I told my parents that I had appeared for that exam. Well, that's how I managed to get them off my back. And then they realized that, okay, our kid is not going to make it. He's not, if he's not going to make it in the first attempt, he's not going to make it. So
Mhm.
they made their peace with it, and
Okay.
they let me pursue my BSc honors,
Mhm.
which
Mhm.
was again a strange combination of subjects. I had studied botany, zoology, and chemistry. Uh, so,
And look where you are.
and look, today I have nothing to do with botany, zoology, or chemistry. So that was one thing.
Mhm.
And even then, the parents said that, okay, now fine, you're pursuing your graduation,
Mhm.
and it's high time that you start studying for the civil services.
Okay.
So at one point in time, I was a little serious about the civil services,
Mhm.
because my father himself was a part of the whole civil service setup. And
Mhm.
he said that, look, okay, if nothing works for you, then possibly you need to get into civil services, because
Mhm.
he was generally of the opinion that, look, either there are a few openings for you as
Mhm.
an individual, you either get into politics, that is where you have uh, fame, you have money. Either
Mhm.
you become a businessman. He
Mhm.
said, like, we have no business background, you have no
Background.
political background. So what is left for you is to
Mhm.
look for a government job. Because
Mhm.
in those days, in our days, the government jobs were very difficult to come by, and one of the
Mhm.
most prized ones, in the
So
sense
trust me,
that,
they still are. They still are.
okay,
Uh,
if they still are. So,
mhm.
in a sense, that if when I look around, I see people
Mhm.
who took the civil service examinations with me are
Mhm.
mostly either Inspector General of Police. One
Mhm.
of my seniors,
Mhm.
he was two batches senior to me. I think Piyush Modia. He's posted in Lucknow or somewhere. He's IG
Okay.
headquarters.
Oh wow.
So Piyush, me, and a couple of them, we used to study together. Piyush studied anthropology. So
Mhm.
basically, I
Mhm.
also had anthropology as one of my optional
Options.
subjects.
Mhm.
Yeah. So Piyush first made it to the Indian Revenue Services, and
Okay.
then he made it to the Indian Police Services, and today he's there where he is.
Mhm. Mhm.
However, strangely, that every time I meet him, he's not satisfied with his job. He said, "Yaar, kahan phas gaye yaar? Police." Because if you, as I have known Piyush, he wasn't cut out for a police job.
Yes.
Uh, his potential or possibly his attitude is not for a police service person. He
Mhm.
was more of a very gentle kind of a soul. He still
Mhm.
is a gentle kind of a soul.
Mhm.
And probably he's the wrong man in the wrong place, or as we say, um, a square in a round hole,
In the round hole, yeah.
something
Mhm.
like that.
Mhm.
So then my parents said that you have to, after you complete your graduation, you should appear for the civil services. I took a shot at civil services on three occasions. I
Mhm.
made it to the interview stage also. However,
Mhm.
my marks were not good in the written examination, so I
Okay.
could not make it the final list. And I thank my stars for it. However, after my graduation, I said that, look, this is not working. I'm still, even after
Mhm.
graduation,
Trying to figure out. Trying to figure out.
I wasn't
Mhm.
sure what is to be done, what is not to be
Mhm.
done.
Mhm.
And I said, okay, let me just figure out, because those were the times when I was also taking my civil service examinations. So I
Mhm.
enrolled into the law course, the
Mhm.
LLB course. And by
Mhm.
the time I was done with my civil services,
Mhm.
my law, I also completed my law. When I figured
Mhm.
out that, okay, look, boss, you're not even going to make it to the civil services. Now what next? And then strangely, after I completed my law, then it was, you were almost like 25, 26 years old, and the parents were like on your back saying that, boss, it's high time you start earning for yourself. You cannot live forever on our income. And that's their perspective. And it's right also that at one point in time, you have to take control of your life, take responsibility of earning your livelihood, and move on. So that is when my parents said that, look, boss, this has gone too far. You have to decide as to what you have to do. So I said, okay, let's see. And I'll just share a very interesting incident with you. Is that I started practicing law, and I won't name the gentleman with whom I started my practice. And he was basically a criminal lawyer and did a lot of matrimonial cases also. So one of my first cases related to matrimonial case. And I remember this woman was basically seeking the transfer of a case out from Ajmer to Rajkot. So basically that could only be done by the Supreme Court of India. So now at that point in time, I got to know that the kind of wily characters that lawyers are, how they cheat on the clients and do all sorts of things. So anyways, my boss pushed this client to me and one of my friends who studied law with me. And he said, just make sure whatever you do for them, file an application in the family court or wherever you're going to send this person, make sure that you take money from this individual. I said, okay, fair enough. So like two smart Alex, the first thing that the client comes to us is that, okay, bhai, paisa aapko, in those days, I remember we said $1,000.
big amount.
Big amount.
Jitna soch sakte the. Jitna soch sakte the.
We said we're going to charge $1,000 for filing this application. And that application was basically nothing. It was a translation from Gujarati to English, and that translation had to be filed in the family court. And we had to file a reply on the part of the woman who was a client and say that the proceedings should be stayed in Ajmer because this client of mine had to travel all the way from Rajkot to Ajmer. She didn't have money and all of that. However, we said, like, we don't give a damn whether you have money or not, but just make sure that you're going to give us $1,000. So, okay, fair enough. That woman said, she tried to bargain with us also. And she said, हमारे पास 1,000 रुपए नहीं है, तो आप कुछ कम कर सकते हैं. Said, no, like, smart bloody lawyer, nothing doing. If you don't have the money, you can get out of here. And we were also, inside, we were feeling scared that
at least
if this client runs away, we're going to lose $1,000. So anyways, the woman said, okay, then give me some time. I'll possibly come to you in the evening. I said, "Bhai, theek hai, office mein aa jana." Office mein lenge. That woman comes back at around 8 o'clock in the evening to the office, and she has $1,000 on her, and she gives it to us and said that this is this. So we said, okay. And I'm generally step out of the office and I'm having this conversation with this client. I said, hey, aapke paas to paise the nahi hai, ye kahan se laye? So that woman said that mere paas ek sone ki chudi thi, wo maine jeweler ke paas pawn karke ye 1,000 rupees liye because this has to be done. So I felt bad about it. And I said that what is to be done? But anyways, you were like, this is your first earning. We're not going to leave it. Anyways, we took that money and we had a party of that money. We didn't, in the sense, hold it back. We had a nice time. We went out to a hotel, had nice food, moved around and spent the $1,000. But that incident kept playing on my mind. And then I realized that, look, boss, am I cut out to do this kind of a job where I'm going to be, asking the client who cannot afford to pay me for money, and it didn't appeal to me that this is not the kind of a job I'm cut out to do. And in a couple of days, I walked up to my senior and said, "Boss, I can't do this job. It's very difficult for me. I cannot be. This whole incident is weighing too much on me." So at that point in time, my boss told me, "It's your call. You decide whether you want to continue in the profession or not." But he told me one very interesting thing. He said, advocacy is just one part of it. The court part of advocacy is just one part of the other part of advocacy is to make sure that the clients pay you for your services you render. He says, if you cannot ask your client for the money, for the services or the work you have done, you might think that work is little or small and you should not be asking for so much money. He said, that doesn't matter. But if you do not have that ability to charge and ask the client for your money, you are not cut out for this profession. And if you can't do it, forget it. Advocacy has two aspects. One is asking the client to pay up. The other aspect is what you do in the courtroom. So I said, okay, I'm done with this also. And then suddenly I said, क्या करें यार, कुछ समझ नहीं है. हाँ, अब क्या करें? मतलब like
how old were you?
I was 27 then, and so 26, 27, yeah.
So by 27, engineering was out, engineering was out way back. Medical was out, UPSC was out, law was out.
Okay.
And now, in those times, what else is left?
Nothing is left. So I was back at the crossroads, trying to figure out kahan jaye yaar. And then it just happened that there was this institute in JNU Delhi, which goes by the name of Indian Institute of Mass Communication, and it does a PG diploma course for journalism. And in those days, it was considered, it still is considered to be a very premier institute, and not, it used to, in my time, the intake was only 25 students across the country would be taken in. And I said, one of my friends said that this is one professional institute. Why don't you apply for it? Because the other option would be to do MBA. I said, MBA, I can't do it. And it's not happening. Either if you want to do MBA, you go make it to the IIMs, or you're not doing MBAs, because it makes no sense to do Masters of Business Administration from any run-of-the-mill university. So I said, as far as I was clear about IIMs, I won't be able to crack the CAT exam with the arithmetic component. I said, maybe possibly I'll crack everything else, the reasoning bit, the English bit, everything will be done. But when arithmetic comes, I won't.
Quantitative aptitude.
And yeah, whatever they called it, the quantitative aptitude test at that point. I said, you won't be able to. I said, I'm being very clear, I won't be able to do it. And then I appeared for this exam at IIMC. And again, a very strange incident happened. My center was in RK Puram, and it was a big school. There were almost like 1,000-1,500 people who were appearing at that center. And
at one center it was one center.
One center in Delhi. And
this was going to be just 25 seats, you said?
Yeah. So, and there were 16 centers across the country where the examination was being conducted. So I said, I don't know if I'm going to make it or not. Let's see. Let's give it a shot. And I hadn't prepared for it. I just landed in, it was a Sunday. I had landed in the morning in Delhi, and I said, okay, let's see, chalte. I go to the RK Puram Center. I said 9 o'clock the paper starts. By 10:30 I'm done with the paper. And I'm done with the paper. I'm looking around and I see that the students who are still struggling and writing. And I said, boss, what's wrong? Either I am too smart, or these guys, either I'm too dumb, or these guys are too smart. Something is wrong. Something is off. So I raise my hand and I tell the invigilator that, look, I'm done.
Mhm.
The invigilator looks at me, it's just 1.5 hours, and how come you're done with 3-hour paper?
Mhm.
So I said, I'm done. Mere ko ab jaane do. So the next session, there were 2 exams. So one was in the morning, the other was at 2 o'clock. So I step out, I loiter around a little bit, again come back for the 2 o'clock. And the same thing again happens. I'm done by 3 o'clock, and you could not leave the center before 5 o'clock. So
Okay.
I'm done at 3 o'clock, and I'm
Waiting
like,
for 2 hours.
looking around and all that.
Like
just
creating
loitering.
passive nuisance.
Yeah, passive nuisance. And suddenly one guy walks up to me and he says, "What is wrong with you?" I said, "I'm done with my paper. What do you want me to do?" He said, "कि अच्छा ठीक है, आप दे दो पेपर, क्लास के बाहर जाना चाहते हो?" मैंने कहा हाँ, निकल जाओ फिर. But anyways, they didn't let me out of the center. 5 o'clock, I move out of the center. And 2 weeks later, in those days, you used to get a telegram. So I get a telegram from IIMC saying that you have been selected, and you are requested to appear for the interview on so and so date. I said, yeah, this is a very strange place. And like, either those people who are appearing for the test were totally dumb idiots who did not know. I could bloody crack the paper in 1.5 or 90 minutes straight. And these people, I don't know what they were doing. Anyways, I wasn't so sure. I said, "Dekhte hain." Then again, 2 weeks later, I go to IIMC, appear for the interview. Again, in the interview, I bump into a character called Rakesh Bhatnagar. Rakesh Bhatnagar in those days used to write for the Times of India. And he generally started asking me about things, what I have done. I said, I have done law and all that. So he started asking me about law. And then he said, "Do you read newspapers?" I said, "Yeah, I read Times of India." And he said, "Who do you read?" So I said, "I read Rakesh Bhatnagar." He says, "Okay, let me introduce myself. I am Rakesh Bhatnagar." I said, "Okay, yaar, bade logon se mulaqat ho gayi." Anyways, the interview was more like a conversation, and I wasn't even sure. So I said, "Okay, ho gaya," and I leave that place. And surprisingly, in the next 2 days, again, I get a telegram saying that you have been selected, and please deposit your fees and come, so on and so forth. Okay. चलो ये भी हो गया, चले गए IIMC, पढ़ लिए साल भर. साल भर के बाद फिर ये होता है कि IIMC पढ़ने के बाद नौकरी कहाँ मिलती है. Again, a very interesting thing happens to me, that there is some vacancy in the Hindustan Times, and I remember going to that office in Barakhamba Road, and in those times there used to be a guy called Prakash Patra. He used to be the managing editor of Hindustan Times, and he called us for a test. He said that we do have vacancies in Hindustan Times, but before you actually, I decide to interview you or recruit you guys, you will be required to take the test, and if you guys pass the test, I'll take you in. I said, fair enough, chalo. So उन दिनों क्या होता था कि we went at 11 o'clock for the test. The whole newsroom was empty because people start coming into the newsroom only after lunch. So he puts us, we were 5 or 6 of us who were called in for the interview, for the test,
the process.
and the process. And we were asked to take the test. So I was sitting in front of a terminal, and there was a page which was opened in front of me, which was the Hindustan Times newspaper of that day. And we were given the task to, in those days, the task of a sub-editor was to make the page on the computer. There used to be a program called the Quark Express. And we were supposed to design the newspaper, page 1 of the newspaper, read the copies which were to be put, make the headlines, do the design and everything of that sort. So as usual, I was like, again, caught in a conundrum. I said, I bloody don't know anything about Quark Express. You give me a copy, an English copy, I'll edit it, sub-edit it, I'll give you a good headline, I'll make it tight, copy out of it and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting in front of the terminal. I don't know what to do. I only knew a few commands about the Quark Express. And after half an hour, I walk up to Prakash Patra and I said, "Sir, I'm done." So he said, "What are you done?" I said, "So you've given me page 1 of Hindustan Times. What do you expect me to do? I don't know to design it. I don't know whether this particular design which you have put is correct or not, and stuff like that. So I cannot." The whole idea of the test was, he said that I'm giving you this page, improve this page.
Okay.
Okay. So what improvement can be done? Because newspapers, when they are made, designed, or what you get in the early in the morning is an exercise in a hurry,
Okay.
So that's not exactly the best product. So I walk up to him. So I said, "I can't do anything about it. मेरे हिसाब से ये ठीक है.
ये best है.
हाँ, ये best है." So Prakash Patra smiles at me. He says, "Are you sure?" I said, "I am not going to touch it. I don't know." Okay. So मैंने कहा, "I just know how to edit a copy. You give me a bloody copy, I'll edit it, I'll make a good product out of it and give it to you." So Prakash smiles at me and he says, "Okay, but तेरे साथ जो लोग आए, they are still working on it." मैंने कहा, "सर, उनको आता होगा, मेरे को नहीं आता."
मुझे नहीं आ रहा.
हाँ. So let's be very clear about it. So he said, "Okay, you're good to go." I said, "Yeah, I'm good to go." So I leave the office and I'm clear कि नौकरी तो नहीं है मिलेगी. And in the meantime, there is another opening at a magazine called Down to Earth.
Okay.
And one of my friends had put me in touch with Anil Agarwal, who used to run that magazine. And he said, "I've just put in a word with Anil. You go and meet him and he'll possibly hire you." I said, "But I'm not interested in working for a magazine which was only dealing with environment issues." So I said, "I'm not interested. I want to work. If I want to work, I want to be a part of the mainstream media. Otherwise, I'm not ready for it." I said, "Fine." I didn't go. I go back to my friend's place where I was staying. And he asks me, "Kya hua?" I said, "Yaar, nahi hua. मेरे को तो इतना पता है क्योंकि उसने जो काम दिया था मैं नहीं कर पाया. नहीं हुआ." So he said, "Okay, fine, but खाना वाना खा ले, सो जा." So I just had my lunch and I was dozing off in the afternoon, and suddenly I get a phone call. On the other end is Prakash Patra. He says, "Bagariya." I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Patra here." So I said, "Yes, sir, bolo." So they're like, "Can you meet me in the evening?" मैंने कहा, "हाँ, मिल लूंगा, मैं यहीं पे रहता हूँ." I was staying in North Delhi. So he said, "How soon can you come?" I said, "It'll take me at least 40 minutes. I'll have to catch a bus and come." So he says, "Okay, don't come in a rush. Come by 6:37. So I said, "Fine." 7 o'clock I reach, and 7 o'clock newsrooms are generally a madhouse. And it was a madhouse. I was kept waiting there. After half an hour, he comes out and he says, "Congratulations, you have been selected." So I looked at him with a straight face. I said, "Why?"
This is what? Why?
I said, "Why?" So if those jokers I have been, he said that you are the third batch of people I gave this test to. And all the people I have seen, they tried to act smart. They tried to act too smart, or they tried to say that this is not good. But he says that generally, you see, the page 1 of any newspaper is designed by the top guy, the guy who's the guy who's very good at his job. So he said, of the people I have been interacting with in the last 3 days, you are the only one who's honestly walked up to me half an hour into the process and said कि मेरे को कुछ नहीं आता है, मेरे को ये आता है, जमता है तो बोलो, नहीं जमता है तो छोड़ो. I said, "I like your attitude and I think you'll do a good job." So I said, "Okay, fair enough." So he said, "Tomorrow come and collect your appointment." So
Okay.
that's how I landed my first job. And I was saying, so at that point in time, he gave me a few options that where do you want to go? So I said, yeah, what editions do we have? And at that point in time, they had just started the Jaipur edition.
So a few things. We'll come back to this. Few things. I mean, listening to you, it seems that okay, things were coming and you were just taking them as they came. But I'm pretty sure that every time you faced a failure, or the you can say the conventional failure, that is how the others start putting it. Did you actually realize it that you were under some sort of pressure and you were trying to find a way out, or you had no idea about these things? You were just again going in the flow.
It's very difficult. Those years were very difficult in the sense that on one end, you see your friends, your peer group, all of them latching onto good jobs or a government job, and you were still stranded and nowhere to go.
And this was a very strong peer group. Even in school, the kids were really good. The college you went to, the kids were really good. So obviously they were running ahead.
So it's almost like that. If you think yourself to be a part of the rat race, the bad part of it that even though you're a part of the rat race, at the end of the day, you still are that kind of thing. So it's very easy for me now to look back and say that and talk about it so easily. But in those days, it was pretty difficult because, when you looked around, you saw some of your friends making it to the civil services, some of your friends making it to the armed forces, some friends who made it to the IIM, some friends who were doing their own stuff. So it was very difficult in the sense that every time you met your friends, you bumped into them, they would ask you that, what are you doing? And you were like left with no answer, like, boss, I'm still trying to figure out. And
you just acted cool, that's it. But all the while it was...
Yeah. So all the while that pressure is always there. Those were very stressful years. And at some point in time, you used to think that, you possibly wasted the most productive years of your lifetime. That is the time period from 18 years to 28 years. That's the time when people are in the process of molding their lives. And, at my time, people used to get married by 26, 27 years, and some would start their families also. And here I was not without a job. I was like, ille, nothing is there. You're not holding on to anything. You're just still figuring out what is to be done. But I was only one thing which kept me going was the fact that, look, I still wasn't sure. I didn't. Every time I took an exam, I wasn't sure in my gut that this is the right thing for me. I didn't realize it then, but every time you take the exam, you don't give your best. You know it in your gut, your body knows, your soul knows that you don't want to do it, but you don't listen. You don't listen to those signs. You possibly just give in and want to do it. Fortunately for me, I did not make it to any of these services, but had I made it to any of these services, my life would have been on another different course, which would have been very difficult for me, because that is not something which I wanted. And it was only possibly when I started with my journalism journey, then I realized that, yes, this is what I had been looking for all my life. That, this is something which suits my personality, my temperament, the kind of work I want to do, even trust me, Sudip, even in those days, the salaries, and even today, the salaries that were given to journalists was not a great sum of money. It was just a sum of money which you made your subsistence. And but still, I was very comfortable under my skin. I was happy. And despite the fact that journalism as a profession was not really looked upon, in the sense that I still remember people used to say कि क्या करते हो? बोले पत्रकारिता करते हैं. अच्छा वो तो करते हो, इसके अलावा क्या करते हो?
और क्या करते हो?
और क्या करते हो?
What do you do for a living actually? Yeah.
हाँ. I said this is a bloody full-time job. And then we realized, at least I realized that, look, this is what I wanted to do. All my life I've been wanting to do was to do something of this this kind of a work. I wanted to say stories, report on news events. I wanted to give my opinion on what's happening around us. And all of this,
it was all coming together.
It was all coming together. And, after a few years into the job, I realized that, look, boss, I'm going to be here. Even, after some time, people used to tell me that, look, why you caught up in this job? All you need to do is to make the switch back, go back to law, you'll make more money. And in fact, the people I came in touch with when I was in Delhi, I started covering the Supreme Court. Today are senior advocates and make 100 or 200 times the money that I make today. So I said, look, boss, I don't want to make that transition. I'm happy doing it here. And
I remember a few years back, I think you told me that you wanted to somehow help people who could not afford education. And still, I mean, there is no money.
Yeah.
So I think you were never after that the monetary gains from the profession.
Yeah. So, but you see, money at the end of the day is very important. Roti, kapda, makan, sab kuch chahiye.
It is, yeah.
Or uske alawa, what you need is some degree of respect from the society, and not some degree, but a majority of comfort of being yourself, being within your skin, being comfortable with yourself. ठीक है, पैसा नहीं है, ये नहीं है, वो नहीं है, but still at the end of the day, you need to make at least that kind of money which can give you, a comfortable lifestyle.
Yes.
I don't say that you make load shits of money. You make money if you want to make money. I wasn't into the business of making money. I was more interested in trying to do what I want to do. Yes, after 15, 16 years into the profession, I started dabbling with the idea of teaching students.
I had another question to ask. Like, okay, friends are moving ahead. They are still friends, of course. You wish them well. You want them to succeed. But in your own personal race, you are going nowhere. You are maybe 24, 25. When you come back home in your room, when nobody is there, what do you think? What goes up here?
Well, to be very honest, Deep, at that point in time, you did feel a lot of frustration, anxiety, stress, because you at that point in time, you were actually thinking in terms of their successes and your loss, and not focusing on what you want to do or what you really want to do. So there were times when I was also good with this feeling that, look, my colleagues, my class fellows are doing well. They are already settled. They are into a professional setup where they've already started getting on with your life, and you are still yet to get off the blocks. So that sense of anxiety, frustration, depression, everything grips you. But at the end of the day, I've been fortunate enough to have a set of friends who, the moment they saw you gripped by this kind of an anxiety or depression, they would cheer you up and said, "Okay, guys."
They would appear from nowhere, right?
Yeah, they would appear from nowhere and say, "Yeah, abhi chalta hai, ho jayega." So, everybody knows कि कुछ ना कुछ हो जाएगा. But whether जो आप चाहते हो वो होगा या नहीं होगा, nobody knows. Okay, and for that, one very important thing has to be, people should know from the beginning, is that you have to put in a requisite amount of effort to get to a desired result. Because to reach a particular goal, you need to first fix that goal, put in that required amount of effort that is required to reach that goal, and only then you reach the goal. You just can't be thinking in terms sitting that, look, I have the ability, I am intelligent, and I'll make it. No, and that doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen.
Even if you are intelligent, even if you have the IQ of above average person and everything, but if that effort is missing, that the most important component which will determine whether you make it to your goal or not. I'm not talking in terms of success and failures, because that is very subjective. There's no objective criteria for it, although there will be your friend circle, your parents, your relatives who would want to pigeonhole you and try to say that, okay, compared to this, look what your neighbor
this is how you define success. Maybe their definitions.
So this is so by those yardsticks, they will try to say that, look, those guys are doing well, you are nowhere, and stuff like that. So all those things I have gone through. I did feel a little left out, but strangely, once I got into this profession of journalism, I was like the coolest cat around. I was like, bloody hell, I know what I was made to do.
What I was made for.
What I was made for, and this is what I have to do, and this is exactly what I'm doing. And also remember that now again there is this whole constant comparison game which will always be running behind you. Even at that point in time, the comparison games would also always happen. Ki tum kitna kamate ho? How much are you earning? Your peers are earning better than you. We had class fellows who were like part of the merchant navy gig, which really paid you a handsome salary.
Yes. And they were the kings. They were the real pirates.
So those were the ones who really made big bucks, and we were still like, my starting salary was only 6,000 bucks, and I still feel that one of the most happiest times of the carefree times were the ones when I just made 6,000 bucks a month. I was like really happy when I look back today. यार 6,000 में होता क्या है, लेकिन उस समय पूरा महीना निकालते थे भाई.
You can't even pay your phone and electricity bills combined
today. So those were the times. Then the mobile phones, we used to afford mobile phone, we used to go out. I don't think that I ever felt left out in any part of my life when I compared myself to my friends, classmates. I said, boss, तुम तुम्हारा काम कर रहे हो, मैं मेरा काम कर रहा हूँ. ठीक है. हाँ. So I am not in this bloody whole rat race.
So what was this stance of telling people that I am doing my own thing? Was it very, very honest stance, or you were still trying to cover up for certain losses?
No.
It was honest.
You just can't keep on lying to yourself all your life. नहीं हो सकता है. ठीक है. कभी तो तुमको अपने आप से कभी तो सच बोलना पड़ेगा ना, बॉस.
जितना जल्दी बोल दे.
हाँ कि ये करना था, ये हो गया, या ये नहीं हुआ. ठीक है. अब ठीक है यार, मतलब like, I want to do this, let me do it. Somebody else wants to do that, let them do it. there are still, you won't believe, Sudeep, we're almost 50 now.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, most of my friends, they're going through a midlife crisis. These are the guys who made the mega bucks.
Yes.
And
Yes.
okay. And now, in the last few years, we've almost hit that stage where we are having a midlife crisis. We don't know what to do next.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
So most of these friends walk up to me and tell me, Ashok, ab kya karna hai? You decided for yourself whatever you want to do,
Yeah.
and how come you're so soon done with it? Is
Mhm.
it really? I don't know. Possibly I should have done something else and all of that. I said, now you're caught in this thing. Do whatever you want to do. I
Mhm.
said,
Mhm.
either be very clear from the beginning that
Mhm.
you were here in it for money. You
Mhm.
treated your profession as a money. Your life
Mhm.
is something else.
Mhm.
If
Mhm.
that kind of a distinction, if you are able to draw that kind of a distinction and maintain
Mhm.
clear cut defining lines between
Mhm.
your personal and private lives, then
Mhm.
that's a different ball game altogether. That's something which is very difficult for people to do. You just can't draw a line which will say that, look, this, I'm doing this just to earn my livelihood,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
after that, this is who I am.
Be professional with the profession. Be professional with
Be
the
professional.
profession. Yeah.
That
Uh,
doesn't happen.
doesn't
But
happen
if
actually. Yeah.
that doesn't happen, if
Mhm.
people are able to do it, nothing like it. But
Mhm.
there are only one or two in a million
Mhm.
who would ever be able to do it. You're
Mhm.
so subsumed by your profession because your
Yes.
profession defines you, not
Defines
just
you.
as an individual.
People,
Everything in your,
people judge you by your profession actually,
yeah,
without
yeah,
even talking to you.
without even talking to
Mhm.
you. See,
Mhm.
that's at the end of the day, everything is about perception.
Mhm.
People don't, nobody is going to judge you for what you are. People, you're going to
Mhm.
be judged by what appears to them or how they
Yeah.
perceive you.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
if you could be the smartest Alec in the town in your own head, but the
Mhm.
person who is sitting opposite to you will judge
Mhm.
you by
Mhm.
what you do or what you wear or what you
Mhm.
um,
Maybe
you know
maybe the car you drive.
drive. Yeah, those are the yardsticks on which you are judged. But I don't hold that because that's
Mhm.
how
That's
our
how it is.
society
In fact,
functions.
in fact, in certain cases, we are also the same. We also maybe the parameters might be different. It may not be a car, but we also, in our own way, we keep judging people. We may not accept it or realize it, but that is what I think we also do it sometimes.
Of course, as individuals, it's very
Yeah.
difficult not to be judgmental
Not to be.
because that is one of the inherent instincts
Yes.
that
Yes.
nature has
Yes.
given you, because
Yes.
it's again the fear or flight response that is
Yes.
triggered into you
Yes.
every time you meet a person. You are judging. If you like a person,
You stay.
that is also
Yeah.
based
Yeah.
on a judgment,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
those yardsticks could be different. You might
Mhm.
like a person's smile, you might like a
Mhm.
person's honesty. Those
Mhm.
yardsticks are different,
Are
but
different. They are.
the
They are.
rules the rule
Yeah.
yeah, the
Yeah.
rules of the game, as far as the society is concerned, the
Mhm.
rules of the game are different. So if you are playing cricket, you have to play cricket by the rules of
By the
cricket.
rules.
You can't say that, I'm good at badminton, so badminton rules should apply
Let's
if I'm
apply.
playing cricket.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. So if you have to play cricket, you'll have to play the game of cricket by the rules. If you have to live in the society, you will have to live by the rules of the society.
So,
So
so one thing,
yeah,
you talked very nonchalantly about those IMC entrance tests and the interview part, but I'm pretty sure that you you would have been under some sort of uh, pressure to beat it. What and considering that you took half the time that was provided, 3 hours का पेपर आपने 1.5 घंटा में खत्म किया and still beat the competition. Did in any way the previous preparations, maybe for UPSC, maybe for law, did that discipline you enough to be able to do this kind of performance uh, when you actually found that this was something I wanted to do?
yeah, you're right there, in the sense that after everything fell in place for me,
Mhm.
uh, And when I joined IIMC and spoke to my classmates there, and I tried to figure out that how did they crack the exam. And they said that they found it difficult. They had to study. They had to, there were some professional tutorial books they had to go through and all of that. But I said that I haven't done any of that. So then I realized that possibly these people had not appeared for any other exams in their life, and I had been going through the grind for the last 3 years appearing for the civil services. So in that sense, I had in the last 3 years covered my bases, and that was possibly one of the reasons that I was able to crack that exam and half the time that was given to us to write the paper. So yes, you are right in a way that the grounding or the hard work that I had put in the past for the civil service examinations came in handy for this particular exam.
So we can safely infer that regardless of the field that you are aiming at, even if you're in the wrong space, the preparation doesn't go waste. It develops an attitude, maybe.
Probably you're right there. That the kind of hard work or even the effort you put in while you're moving towards or moving in one particular direction doesn't go waste, because it definitely teaches you something. And not only teaches you in the sense of your conventional subjects, but also teaches you a little bit about life. It teaches you about or possibly teaches you how to take the exams, because civil service exams, trust me, Sudip, were the most difficult ones.
It is, and perhaps in the world.
Yeah. And the kind of optional subjects I had were public administration and anthropology. So in the year 97, I remember the 97, when I took my mains, so for the first 3 days, we had the general studies paper, the essay papers, and the English and Hindi essay papers. And with just a day's break, I had my public administration optionals. And on the next very day, I had my anthropology mains.
Okay, so between optionals, you had no breaks.
No break. So, but I did, I had no time. So everything that, all effort that had to be put in had to be done before the examination. All the preparation for the writing the exam had to be done beforehand. There was no time. I wasn't lucky enough. There were students with other optional subjects who had the time to prepare more. But I don't regret the fact that I opted for those subjects, because I wanted to study them. I wanted to take the exams in those subjects. I could have, the most easy thing for me would have been to opt for botany and zoology. But I was
that is where it came from, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I studied my graduation for. And in fact, in one of my interviews, I was asked that why did you not opt for botany and zoology as your subjects? I said I was not interested. And trust me, if I had opted for botany and zoology as my optional subjects, I wouldn't be sitting today in front of you and appearing for this interview. So I said my heart wasn't there. So if your heart wasn't there, why did you not do BA? I said BA is like too little infra dig, and I just wanted to continue with whatever I had started in school. And that is how it happened. But yes, things don't go waste. They teach you, they inculcate some sense of discipline, or possibly they leave some kind of an imprint on your mind, which stays with you forever, and possibly a learning that never leaves you. And at some point in time, it pays. Whether it's today, tomorrow, or 10 years down the line, we don't know that when those seeds that you have sown will bear the fruits, because all seeds have their own gestation time. So when those seeds are going to bear fruits, nobody knows. So you just wait for them.
One of the seeds would be the senior division badminton or inters badminton.
It was senior divisions badminton.
That is a folklore we have we have grown upon as juniors. What happened, sir? हुआ क्या था?
I really, I'm little sketchy about the details, but whatever I remember of is that we were three of us, me, Dheeraj Sharma and Manoj Panikkar, who was supposed to play in the senior divisions badminton. Now, I was a regular because when I used to go back to Bombay, I used to play badminton. And when we came to school, we hardly got any time to play badminton because anyways, it was a little low on the ranking order if we see, because hockey, football, tennis. So badminton is something that
a bit for the across the valley.
So that kind of a thing. And I remember Mr. M.K. Bhatt used to be the in charge. And in the previous year, in the 11, I was supposed to play for the inters. And I was overweight. I made it to the seniors. He said, oh, you can never do anything that I want. So in 12th, when we were there, so we decided now we are not going to go anywhere. Let's play in seniors. So it happened that as far as Dheeraj and Manoj Panikkar were concerned, they made their way to the finals because they did not lose a match. And in those days, we used to play the best of three. So anybody who won two matches, you moved on. So we made it to the finals, and we were supposed to play Weinberg Allen in Weinberg Allen.
In Weinberg,
So it so happened that Dheeraj won his game, Manoj lost it, and there was a reverse single kind of an arrangement that I had to play. That was the final match. So, which would decide whether the senior division badminton inter-school trophy would come to Oak Grove after 20 years or not. So we hadn't had the senior badminton trophy
in 2 decades.
In 2 decades. So it was like, I said, okay, let's see. And this guy who was playing, I was supposed to play against, was Weinberg Allen's best player, the number 1 player. And anyway, when Dheeraj Sharma was playing against him, I saw that this guy was like a little shaky. He wasn't moving well and all that. So I was thinking in my head, isko to hara hi denge agar khelega to. Theek hai.
That is confidence.
That is confidence. So I didn't know, because I was thinking that we beat them, but anyway, we lost. And then when my turn came, it was already 4:30 in the evening. And we were just like few of our classmates had gone for that tournament, for that match. And Dheeraj Sharma was like, bloody hell, I can't watch Bagariya play against this chap.
Too much stress.
Too much stress. And that chap from Weinberg Allen claimed to be Nepal's best player at that time. I said, hoga yaar, apne ghar mein hoga. Dekhte hain, shuru karte hain. So we started the game. I won the first game. This was the second game. I was leading almost 11-6 or something. And in those days, we used to have a game of 15 points.
Okay.
So I was leading 11-6, and I lost the service, and the service went on to this guy. He takes 2 points, and it's 11-8. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Why is this guy scoring against me? So I said, boss, it's no time to be defensive.
Go all out.
Just go all out. And then he serves to me, and I'm like, boss, I am going to give it back to you. So the last 4 points were total smash points. It's like that the moment he gave me the shuttle back in the mid-court, I just smashed it. I said, bloody hell, I'm not going to give you an opportunity.
No cat and mouse.
No cat and mouse game. And it was just in the nick of time when I was leading 13-9 that Dheeraj Sharma comes back onto the court, and he's saying, what is the what is the score? So I said 39 chal raha hai. Max, you can do it. You can do it. I said, yeah, I know I can do it. Just hang it.
Almost done it. Almost done it.
We are almost there. So another 2 points, and we settled the scores with Weinberg Allen. And I still remember these girls and boys who had gathered in that small auditorium in Weinberg Allen were actually hooting for that chap. And there was nobody to cheer me up, or nobody from Ogro except for a few of my classmates. And there was this teacher, Shashi Sharma, who used to be the headmistress of the school. So she had escorted us for the tournament. And like once we were done and dusted, I said, okay, ho gaya apna kaam, ab apan chalte hain. So it's like after 2 decades that we were able
and that was some evening. That was some evening we had. I mean, of course, as school, we were fortunate to have such wonderful occasions almost every year. But then this was, I mean, you with people you expected, like, okay, ye to khelta hai, to daudta hai, wo kar lega. As somebody, there was of course, he was in 11th and we were in class 6. We perhaps did not know that you were that good with badminton. And as I said,
because I never played in school.
That was the issue. Exactly. So when that news came in, it was a kind of very, very pleasant shock. And since we couldn't ask you, sir, aapne kiya kya? So we had our own stories going in our mind. Ki ye hua, wo hua. Maybe Dheeraj was coaching and this and that. Apni kahaniyan sab bacche baith ke pushte hue bana rahe hote the. But that was a wonderful evening. That was a wonderful evening. Getting the cup back. And I think moments like these, I mean, in your case, I wouldn't say it was instilling the confidence. It was basically just testing the confidence. That's it. ये हरा ही देंगे यार, देखते हैं फिर.
Like well, it's really strange because when I used to play in Bombay, I remember I used to knock with a guy called Harjeet Singh.
Okay.
Harjeet Singh was the nationals player. He used to represent the railways.
Okay.
So in Bombay, where we stayed, there was one badminton court, and that was the best badminton court in Bombay. And Harjeet Singh used to come there and play. So whenever I got a chance, I used to knock with Harjeet Singh. And I was like very hardly, you were like 16, 17. And Harjeet was like at the top of his career at that point in time. He used to play with the likes of Syed Modi and all those.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was at a different level.
He was in a different league altogether. So, when you could knock with those guys and hold a few rallies with them, then you had that kind of confidence. If I can play with Harjeet Singh, who is this guy?
Exactly. That is again coming to the same thing. Maybe like when we were in class 6, we used to fag for on the tennis courts, like all class 6 students would. And when the bell rang for the playtime to be over, normally some kind senior would hand over the racket to us, ki chal do rally khel le. And that is how it started. The scoring part, basically, we learned how to keep score. And we obviously started hitting a few rallies. And that is when we had our match with St. George in sub-juniors. Again, the same kind of swag was there. Yeah, इनको तो देख लेंगे. हमने लोरो के साथ खेला हुआ है. हमने आर्ची सर के साथ 2-3 शॉट्स मारे हुए हैं. ऐसा क्या यार, देख लेंगे इनको तो. And amazing stuff, sir. Okay, so again, switching back the timeline. Hindustan Times, Jaipur.
Yeah. So that's where I get my first job. And my primary task was to edit the copies.
Okay.
So in those days, we were called the sub-editors. So any copy that the reporter filed had to be sub-edited before it actually got published or printed in the newspaper. In the sense, you had to clean up the copy for the language part, for the tense part, because generally the copies that are written in the active voice, and reporters are filing copies in a hurry that there are times that they forget the active voice, passive voice, and all gets jumbled up, and that has to be cleaned before it actually gets published. So the task given to me was of a sub-editor, saying that you will be cleaning copies. And in those days, we used to clean some 10 to 15 copies, although it was a small center. And just a month into my job, my resident editor calls me and says that, look, Ashok, there is an opening in Ranchi. I said, Ranchi, what bloody godforsaken place is that? He said, it's in
Bombay boy. Bombay boy.
Yeah. I said, what bloody godforsaken place is that? He said, no. Ranchi is the Bangalore of the East. You'll like it. Just give it a shot. So I said, if you insist so much, then possibly I'll go. I didn't know that he had some other plans in mind because he wanted somebody else in my position in Jaipur.
Yes.
So he wanted to first create that vacancy and then get that person once he'd moved me out of Jaipur. So he said, do you agree to go to Ranchi? I said, okay, if you insist, because he's a very respectable journalist. And I said, I believe that what you are saying is correct. So I agreed and I said, okay, I'll go to Ranchi. And again, I run into Prakash Patra. Prakash Patra calls me. He says, bloody idiot, you're wanting to go to Ranchi? What's wrong? So I said, sir, no, I'll go. And if something can be done, he says, why do you want to go? I said, I'll go. So he said, okay, go. Ranchi was a terrific experience in terms of the profession. Because at that point in time, Hindustan Times had just launched an edition in Jharkhand, which was the Ranchi edition. And that was also the time when Ranchi had been carved out from Bihar. Jharkhand had been carved out from Bihar. And there was a lot of violence which was going on in the state. So, and at that point in time, I joined the Ranchi edition of Hindustan Times. And trust me, Sudip, we used to work from 11 in the morning. And by the time we reached home, it was almost 3:30 in the night. So we were basically taking out 6 editions. One was South Bihar, Jamshedpur, Ranchi, Rourkela, South Orissa, then Dhanbad, Jamshedpur, 6 editions we used to take out. And it was a crazy time. And
a steep learning curve.
Learning curve and a very exhausting one. And 7 months into the job, and I said, this is unsustainable.
Okay.
Can't go. It's 11 o'clock. You see, it's like 11 o'clock. You have to be in office. The whole day, through the day, you are in office. The whole night, almost 3 hours after the midnight, you were in office, and 3:30 you reached home. So you hardly got 6 to 6 hours to sleep, then get ready back to office. So it was all, there's no space for personal life. There was no time to sit back and think as to what's happening. It was so hectic that the profession subsumed you. And there was no time for reflection or thinking that where are you headed. And journalism as a profession is so taxing and demanding that it doesn't give you time to think. But you have to take out time for yourself to reflect as to what's happening. Even reflection helps you.
It does. It sure does.
In the way you are approaching your story, you are writing it. If you don't reflect on what's happening in front of you, you will never be a good news person. So 7 months into the job, I said, I can't take it any further. One evening, I walk up to my boss. I say, boss, this is enough. I can't handle it, and I'm quitting.
Okay.
So he said, but why are you quitting? I said, पागलपन है ये साला सवेरे 11 बजे से रात को 3:30 बजे तक. मैंने कहा, this is no bloody work format. But there was still that passion that it was tiring, but it didn't drain you out mentally because you were still getting
You
the
wanted to
high
do
out
it.
of
You wanted to,
yeah.
yeah.
You were still getting the high out of doing what you wanted to do. But still, I said, boss, this is unsustainable over a period of time, and I don't wish to continue. Later, I tried to persuade me. He says, what is the big deal? This and that. I said, no, I'm not going. So I resigned at midnight. And then the morning at 8 o'clock, there was a train from Ranchi. I boarded that train and back to Delhi.
Okay.
I'm back in Delhi, and the first person I go to is Indian Express. I meet Shekhar Gupta. I said, look, boss, I'm looking for a job. Do you have an opening in the Indian Express? He said, yes, we have, and all that. And then he says, would you mind taking a test? So I said, like, come on, yaar, what kind of a test? So he said, we still would insist that you take a test. I said, okay, again, test le lo. Because I didn't have a recommendation at that point in time.
Okay.
Somebody who would recommend me, because I was just hardly 7-8 months into the job. And the only senior person I knew was Prakash Patra and my editor in Jaipur. However, with so little time with them, even they would recommend me. So I took the test, and I remember Shekhar telling me that half an hour into the test, he said, forget it. I know what you're doing. Would you want to join Indian Express Chandigarh?
Okay.
So I said, yeah, fine, why not? Chandigarh will be better than Ranchi and all of that. And Chandigarh used to be a happening place at that point in time.
It still is somewhat. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So he said, why don't you join? I said, fine. And a few days later, I'm still waiting for my appointment letter to come. It doesn't come. Then again, I call up Shekhar and said, sir, kya hua? Shekhar said, ruko, I'll just call up Gopal. Gopal used to be his PS at that point in time. And Gopal said, Arre, sir, wo ho gaya hai. And Gopal told me that I'll call you in a bit so you can come and collect your paper. So I said, fair enough. So I go to the Indian Express office, and those days it used to be in the Kutub institutional area. I go there, I pick up my letter. I'm so happy that after quitting my job, within a week, I'm able to land a new job. So I just take the letter, put it in my pocket. I don't even open and read it as to what is the salary and all. Just to like happy, I just fold it, put it in my pocket, go home. And I was supposed to join them in a week's time. And in the next morning, I said, okay, देखें कितना पैसा दिया है. तो खोल के देखता हूँ कि oh bloody hell, they have sent me to Ahmedabad. The appointment letter was to Ahmedabad. So I call up Gopal. And I say, Gopal ji, Chandigarh होना चाहिए था, अहमदाबाद कर दिया. अरे सर गलती हो गया. And अभी मैं change करा देता हूँ, आप लौटा दो, ये वो. And then when I'm having that conversation, Shekhar is passing by. Shekhar says, कौन है? He says, sir, वो अशोक है. तो बोले, okay, let me talk to him. So Shekhar says कि क्या हो गया? मैंने कहा सर चंडीगढ़ बोला था, अहमदाबाद का लेटर टिका दिया. तो मुझे बोलता है, अच्छा मैं तो अहमदाबाद चला जाऊं. मैंने कहा अहमदाबाद क्यों चला जाऊं? तो बोले नहीं, Ahmedabad is a happening place. There are elections which are happening. So just get a feel of the thing there. And if you don't like it, in 2 months' time, come to Chandigarh. I'll put you there. And I go there, and elections are there. After the elections, the Gujarat riots take place, and then it becomes the most happening place in the world. I hang in there till 2005. 2005 again. I'm like, I'm done with Indian Express now. I'm done with Indian Express. I need to move on. I'm just thinking of this idea about moving on from Indian Express. And one Sunday morning, I am sitting, I'm just wearing my shorts and t-shirt and slippers. In those days, I used to have a motorcycle called Fiero. I don't know, TVS Fiero. TVS
yeah.
Fiero, yeah. So I used to move around on TVS Fiero. So I drove my Fiero. It was around 10:30 in the morning. And my friend was in the office. He said, office ke niche aaja, chai piyenge apan, and all of that. So I was just sitting with him in the hall, outside his office, as we call Tapri, having tea there. And then I see some television star called Rajdeep Sardesai walk past me and go to the office. So I asked this guy, Sunil, my friend, मैंने कहा सुनील कौन है ये? बोले राजदीप है. मैंने कहा कर क्या रहा है? I think they're launching some television channel.
Okay.
And they're looking for people in Gujarat. I said Gujarat. तो सुनील बोले तू भी दे दे interview दे दे. And then I see a host of journalists pass me by and they are there for the interview. सुनील ने कहा तू भी दे दे इंटरव्यू. मैंने कहा साले इस शॉर्ट्स और टी-शर्ट में इंटरव्यू दूंगा. तो बोलता है अरे दे देखा जाएगा. Because in those days, journalism was very informal kind of a structure and setting. We did not insist on proper dressing and all that, although it has changed now. So he said कि देख ले तेरे को करना है तो. So
shorts would have still been inappropriate for any kind of
yeah. So and short slippers and a t-shirt would definitely be very, very inappropriate. So Sunil says that dekh le. So after 2 cups of tea, we see Rajdeep step down from the office and he's also looking here and there. He says, कर क्या रहा है Sunil? तो Sunil लगा सर चाय पी लो. तो Rajdeep भी वहीं आ गया, चाय पिया. फिर उसके बाद में Sunil walks up to Rajdeep and he says, look, he's my friend. And he's working with Indian Express. And देख लो अगर आपका काम बनता है तो. So Rajdeep says, चल ऊपर चल. So my shorts, slippers, and t-shirt. We go up and Rajdeep says, where is your CV? So I said, CV?
मैं तो चाय पीने आया था.
वो CV कौन लाता है? तो बोलता है अच्छा मेल में है. मैंने कहा हाँ मेल में है. तो वहीं पे मेल उसी के ऑफिस के कंप्यूटर से एक्सेस किया, वहीं पे प्रिंट आउट किया, उसको CV दिया. So the first thing Rajdeep said, would you like to, we're starting a new venture, television venture, would you like to be a part of it? So I said, listen, let's cut it out. I do want to be a part of it, but I don't want to be in Gujarat. I want to be in Delhi. He says, like, suddenly interested. He said, why do you want to be in Delhi? So I said, look, I cover the Bharatiya Janata Party and the High Court here. I have a law background. I'm done with bloody covering politics. I want to, for a legal journalist like me, it is the epitome of your career to cover the Supreme Court of India.
Okay.
Because in those days, it was so difficult to make it to the Supreme Court of India that even when Indian Express, the minimum mandatory requirement was that you should have covered the High Court for 15 to 20 years before you could be actually even think of going to the Supreme Court and filing stories from
you was when you were hardly 5-6 years.
I was 5-6 years into the job. So I said, listen, I am done with covering health, Bharatiya Janata Party and all of this. I want to cover the Supreme Court of India. Rajiv एकदम से बैठ के खड़ा हो गया, बोले हैं ये क्या? बोले मुझे बोलता है, will you be able to do it? I said, I know my stuff. If I know my job, if I know my stuff, I'll do it.
Again, the service hall, the Weinberg Allen, whatever you call it.
So I said, he said, Baga, you'll do it? I said, yeah, I'll do it. He says, okay, welcome on board. मेरे को लगा कि बेवकूफ बना रहा है. और उसके बाद में वो निकल गया वहां से अहमदाबाद से. And he took my phone number, he took my email ID. I said, ऐसे ही fraud है. उसके कुछ दिन बाद there was another television channel called Times Now, which was coming up under the leadership of this gentleman called Arnab Goswami. And again, by stroke of luck, I happened to be on chutti in Bombay. And again, I happened to bump into somebody said that these people, Times of India people, are starting a television channel. Would you be interested? I said, yeah, but not in Gujarat. So they said, yeah, they're not looking for somebody in Gujarat, but maybe Bombay or Delhi. So I said, yeah, I would be interested. So I go and meet Goswami. We have a conversation. Goswami offers me a job. But somehow I don't like that person. I said, yeah, आदमी थोड़ा crack है, अपने को जम नहीं रहा. So after that, what happens is within a week, Arnab Goswami sends me an offer letter. Said, welcome on board. Bennett Coleman and Company welcomes you. Be a part of this organization. They offer me a salary. So I'm still not sure that whether I want to join Bennett Coleman and Company. So I call up Rajdeep and I ask him, "Kya hua? You had said that you would send me a letter and welcome on board, and what is this all hawabazi?" He said, "Abare yaar baga, what? Can you give me half an hour?" I said, "Okay." So within half an hour, his PS calls me. And he said, "Sir, वो आपका offer letter mail में हमने भेज दिया, आप देख लो." So the salary offered by Rajdeep Sardesai and Bennett Coleman and Company were identical.
Okay.
They were like almost the same. So I wasn't like very comfortable with Arnab. So I told Rajdeep that, look, I have an offer from Arnab also. What is to be done? So Rajdeep said, okay, you decide whatever you want to do. So I call up Arnab and I said, look, I'm not interested in coming. No, I didn't tell him the same.
Okay.
I said that, look, I have an offer from Sardesai. So I don't think I want to work with you. So he tried to persuade me in the beginning, and then he started becoming a little nasty and abusive. He said, "You don't know me. I'll ruin your career. You are saying no to Arnab Goswami." Then I said to myself, well, what a pompous asshole this guy is. Who thinks no end of himself. There is no bloody channel in place, and he's already so full of himself. He's a difficult chap to work with. And I said, not happening. I can't work with you. I disconnected the phone. Then within half an hour, one of his flunky calls me and he says, yeah, listen, why you're not joining? It's such a good place, such a good organization, and we'd love to have you. I said, I don't like your editor. He is a loose cannon. And so on and so forth. He said, no, he just loses it. He's so passionate about things that, and you don't get it. So I said, yeah, passionate does not mean that
you start abusing people.
You start abusing people and running them down. So he says, no. In the meantime, things are also weighing on me that, look, actually it was Arnab Goswami who sent me a offer letter first. Although Rajdeep said that I should be on board. So I called up Rajdeep and said, like, look, Rajdeep, I'm caught up in a bind. So why don't you do one thing? He said, wow, what do you want? I said, he's offered me X salary. So he says, now what do you want me to do? I said, you offer me a salary, send me a revised appointment letter with a salary of X plus 1 rupee.
And that will do it.
And that I'll do it, and that will settle the matters for me. So Rajdeep starts laughing and he says, okay, I'll send you a letter. So he also being he sends me a appointment letter plus 1. So that's how I rejected that offer for Arnab Goswami and was a part of CNN and that was my television journey, because so far I had worked only with newspaper. Yeah. So that began my newspaper journey, lasted till 11 years. And for 11 years, I was seen in IBM.
Now, this journey and the later part, I think we'll need another
session.
session for that.
Yeah.
And I know you will not deny.
Yeah.
There are
It's
people
already-
around who would want to listen to you, who would want to maybe actively or passively learn from your journey. Whoa, that was a long conversation, but amazing one. Please like, love, share, spread. I believe, and by this time you must have also started believing that the Wise Bard company is doing a good job. Please, फैला दो यार थोड़ा.